Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. A big welcome to our guests and panelists. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land that we are meeting on tonight, the Ngunnawal people, and pay our respect to the elders past and present. We would also like to acknowledge and welcome other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be joining the event. My name is Christina Jian Lee, and I am a final year law and arts student here at the ANU, and also the 2017 recipient of the Phillipa Weeks Scholarship. It's wonderful to finally have this opportunity to gather together this evening and share with the donors what it has meant to be a Phillipa Weeks Scholar and about our time here at ANU College of Law. Just a little bit of housekeeping. All of your cameras are turned off at the moment and your mics are also muted, but you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions to our wonderful panelists at the end of the discussion by either raising your hand or by putting the question in the Q&A function. As you all know, Phillipa Weeks was a respected teacher and colleague to many here at ANU. She unfortunately passed away in 2006 at the age of 53, and the scholarship was established in her memory. Phillipa studied law here at ANU and went on to have a successful academic career where she earned much respect through inspiring training, teaching, and research into labour law. Phillipa's family, friends, colleagues, and students have all contributed to this scholarship, which is awarded each year to a student from a rural or regional background. It also takes into consideration their leadership and citizenship qualities. Throughout my ANU journey, I have met many people who have been inspired by Phillipa. My colleagues and my professors all speak so fondly of her, and one of my colleagues actually told me that he still has the encouragement note that Phillipa wrote for him decades ago when he was a student at ANU, and he still cherishes it to this day. I can only imagine what an incredible teacher and friend she must have been to many. So we are so grateful and honoured to be recipients of this incredible scholarship and would like to say a big thank you. We have three panelists tonight, Molly, Aiden and Georgie. We have prepared a few questions and we're very excited to welcome them. So Molly, Georgie and Aiden, where are you from and what did you study or are you studying at ANU?
I can jump in first if you like, Christina.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. My name's Molly Campbell. I was the 2014 recipient of the scholarship. I came to the ANU after studying down the coast at down near Eden and Pambula in New South Wales, but I actually grew up on a sheep and cattle property in the Snowy Mountains, 2,500 acres, so very few neighbours, and definitely no law school where I grew up. So I studied law and music here at the ANU. I did a Bachelor of Laws with honours, and then I did a music degree specialising in performance, my major in clarinet. And then I went on to do my GDLP and my Masters of Legal Practice at the ANU as well. I am all graduated now, and I've been working as a solicitor at Spark Helmore Lawyers for the last 4 years. I'm currently an associate there and the pro bono coordinator for the Canberra office. That's me.
Hi there, I'll jump in. So my name's Aiden Hook. I'm from Alice Springs in the Northern Territory. I came to ANU in 2019 and so was the 2019 recipient of the scholarship. So yeah, it's obviously a big change from Alice Springs. It's quite a long way. And yeah, I guess I came with not knowing anything really about ANU or law. And so I'm just so thankful to be here with the support of the scholarship. And yeah, I really can't talk highly enough of my experience at ANU so far, being in my third year with 2 to go.
Hi, I'm Georgie. I was the 2016 recipient of the scholarship and came to ANU to study law and international security studies. I'm originally from far north Queensland, so Townsville, and like Aiden, went from the extreme heat to the extreme cold in moving to Canberra.
What made you want to study law here at ANU?
I was attracted to ANU because I could do the double degree in music and law. It was the only school at the time, or university at the time, that I could do that. Also, getting the scholarship was a big incentive. Definitely, I was just looking back actually and found my offer letter, which was really exciting. So I got that before I realised I had a place at ANU. I remember that being quite exciting, and I think coming to ANU was a really good step for me as a country kid. I didn't have any interest in moving to Sydney or Melbourne, if I'm completely honest. Canberra, as we all know, is a bit of a big country town, so that was a big incentive for me, and I think it was a really good transition. I now haven't left, and I've just had my first baby here in Canberra, so I'm probably sticking around for a while. But I think ANU was a really good place to study, and one that acknowledged that you could study multiple degrees at one time. The flexible program was something that was really attractive, and I think that's something that ANU has to offer, which is really, really exciting, that you can do arts, or you can do music, or you can do science or medicine and study law at the same time, and then take that into your career however you want to.
I totally agree with Molly about Canberra being a nice step up from a country kind of town or place. Yeah, I think for me, I had a cousin who went to ANU and studied law, politics, philosophy, economics, which is my double degree, and they recommend it highly. But yeah, the scholarship as well really, made the decision all the more easier. I actually remember getting an early offer to study law, and yeah, being very unsure if I'd take it on. But a few months later, I was still uncertain, but the scholarship came through, and I think that's kind of what, finalized my decision.
For me, like Molly and Aiden, a big part of coming to ANU was the double degree. I actually started looking at ANU because I was originally looking at ADFA, the Australian Military College, and then realised that there was this other university in Canberra that I hadn't heard of before that looked quite cool. And then the more that I learnt about it and realised that actually I think I was pretty interested in law, I was like, well, this place that I've never heard of in far north Queensland, that I know literally no one who has ever gone to or considered going to, is one of the best unis in the country. So I guess if I was prepared to move for this place, I'll this other college, I'll give Canberra and ANU a look. And then the scholarship, like the other two again, kind of tipped me over the line, because I was like, okay, I can actually afford to relocate now. And I'm so glad I made that decision. It's often one of those ones that you don't realize how good the decision you're making is at the time, and then you look back and you're like, oh, thank God I did that.
Thank you for sharing. So Georgie, you mentioned a little bit about the process of applying to ANU. If you could go back to your time when you were in year 12, what prompted you to apply for this scholarship? Were you just searching for a scholarship? How did you come across this one, and what did it mean to you when you awarded it?
Well, I knew that I would be putting myself through university, and I knew that I wanted to go to either Sydney or in the end, as I said, I ended up focusing on Canberra. And I knew that to get there, I would have to find some way to fund myself. And the more funding that I could get, that was not me working, 4 days a week and detracting from the time that I had available for my studies, the better. So I scoured the websites for any kind of scholarship, and this one came up, and it sort of struck a chord for me, because all of the other scholarships are incredibly commendable and they have these incredible criterion for great people. But this was the first one that I'd seen that had a person at the figurehead of it, and had a story of a woman who had done incredible things and who was very much still alive in the mind of the community from which she came. And yeah, that story behind it meant a bit more to me. And I think that's why I kind of probably ended up getting it, because I really connected to that story of this very funny, witty smart woman who came in from, regional Australia and kind of took Canberra by storm. So
Thank you, Georgie. What about you, Molly and Aiden?
I think a teacher actually suggested that I apply for the scholarship from memory from in Year 12. But again, I think what I found the big difference with this scholarship, as Georgie was saying, is that it was connected to that person, but it was also not just about academic criteria, because one of the things and one of the challenges that rural students do have is that whilst you might be top of your class in regional New South Wales or regional Queensland, doesn't mean you're necessarily top of your class in the state, or you've had the same opportunities as some of those students. And as we know, some of the scaling criteria with ATARs and things can really depend on what your classmates are also doing as well at the time. So if you've got a cohort of 60 kids and maybe four or five of them in your whole year are people getting ATARs over 90 and the rest of the year's not in that bracket, doesn't necessarily mean that you are coming up at the top of the list all of the time. And a lot of the scholarships for universities are really available to those students that amazingly, and I'm not taking anything away from their performance at all, but are getting those 98, 99 ATARs, and it's a lot more common. We see just factually that's a lot more common in the city areas. So that was one thing that I looked at the scholarship and went, okay, I hopefully will get quite a good ATAR, but I also have these leadership qualities, and I also really connect with the story, and it seems to be more of a well-rounded scholarship opportunity rather than just based on academics. And that was something that was really important, and something that I definitely took a lot of value with. And going through my law degree was something that I really respected, and I understood, talking to professors at ANU and other students, that was something that Phillipa was respected for immensely, not just her academic and professional performance, but her qualities as an individual, and her empathy and her time that she had for all of her students and staff. And I think that's something that would be the main thing that I've taken away from the scholarship and from her story, without having the privilege of being able to meet her, is that it's not just about your academic or professional performance, it's about who you are as a person and how you treat your colleagues as well. And so that's something I hope to continue in my career as well. But that was definitely what tipped me over to apply in the first place, was that I think I can actually do this. This seems achievable.
Yeah, I was certainly the same. I probably missed the boat on a lot of scholarships, well, at least a lot of the quite prestigious ones. So I really didn't think about going to university at the start. But when I realized I wanted to, there was that scholarship available, and it had a broad range of criteria that I thought I had a chance at. So I remember I wrote the letter to the people, and I was super lucky. But I mean, same as Georgie, there was no way I'd be here without it. Looking for scholarships has been, key for me to, survive, really. Yeah, so it's been, very lucky.
Thank you for sharing. Molly, you already mentioned a few challenges about being a remote student. What's other things that people don't really understand about rural, regional and remote students?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I came up for, and it has changed, I understand now, but when I started at ANU, I wasn't able to get any government assistance, and that was because I was from a farming family and it's asset tested. So any of the student study benefits that are available from the government at the time, if you had a large asset pool, so lots of tractors and sheds and cows and sheep, then you weren't able to get any of that government assistance, regardless of what the cash in the bank situation was. So having the scholarship was my only means of kind of financial support, aside from what my family could provide, and that was the only thing that was available to me. Thankfully, I think that has now changed, but for a lot of farming families and a lot of farming kids, that was a reality, that you weren't able to get any government assistance. So the scholarship was huge in that respect, and it meant that I wasn't, like Georgie was saying, forced to do part-time work 4 or 5 days a week. I could really use that scholarship to help me. I worked part-time on the weekends, but I wasn't having to work the entire time through my degree, and I was able to focus on my studies and balance that music degree as well, which required a lot of practice time. I think looking back, if I didn't have that financial support, I probably wouldn't have been able to do the double degree as successfully, because my music degree did require a lot of hours sitting in a practice room at the music school plus the law degree. So I don't think I would have had that time if I was working any more than I was. I think the other thing to really think about is that when you're a rural student, you don't often think that these opportunities are available to you. I think it's very easy to kind of just go, oh, I'll see how I go. And university seems quite daunting, and law school particularly seems very daunting. But there's a lot of really amazing qualities that rural students can bring to the table, and scholarships like this enable us to get there in the first place and get into that lecture hall. I remember one of my first ever ANU Law School lectures possibly was torts, and one of the professors said that everybody in the room will be top of your class at high school, and now you're all coming back to, you're all on even playing field, and you're not all going to be number one for the entire part of your degree. And I remember just thinking, oh my God, I'm so out of my league already. Like, these kids are so intelligent and so smart, and they've had so many opportunities, and they've had tutoring, and they know all these things. So I think just getting us there, getting us into that lecture theatre is such an important first step. So I'm very grateful for that. And it's opened up so many opportunities moving forward.
Thank you, Molly. Next one is about the opportunities that this scholarship opened up for us. You've already given us a few examples, but Georgie, would you like to share some for us?
Yeah, absolutely. On a similar theme to what Molly was saying, I think as an overarching thing, that one of the biggest things the scholarship gave me was time, because to put it bluntly, like, unpaid internships are for people who can afford not to be paid. So it gave me the capacity to access the best things that ANU have to offer, which is volunteering for the LSS, volunteering for legal research projects, spending that extra time going down rabbit holes of fascinating cases, and then being able to, talk to my lecturers about it and really take the time to immerse myself in study, because I wasn't having to worry about, great, class is done, I'm running away now to go to my job again. And also not just to have experiences in the law school, but one of the things that I loved about ANU the most was that I kind of had experiences in all different areas. I really loved my law degree and did a lot of very typical law student things, but I was also involved in musical productions. I also went to Mongolia. I also went to Alabama with the wonderful Professor Heather Roberts, I might add. And I also, got involved in my college, and I met people and made friends and had time to do that when I would have just otherwise been running around. And it's really those, like, even now in my current role, those connections from ANU have carried through to what I'm doing now. So that stuff is hard to pin down, but very, very important as part of your university experience. And I'm sure the others probably think the same. And the second thing is, again, similar to what Molly was saying, is that vote of confidence of, even now, sometimes I still feel like I'm a country bumpkin and someone's going to figure out that they accidentally let me in, and then it'll all come crashing down. But having that, vote of confidence behind me to say, this is an incredible woman that the community has gotten behind, and that's the reason you're here, is because of how warm and fantastic and what an impact she had. The fact that I could even be vaguely associated with that kind of legacy is really okay, maybe I am doing something right. And also like the connections that the scholarship has given. Like professors reached out to me when I got to ANU and said, hi, like I know you're the recipient. I knew Phillipa personally. If you ever need anything, let me know. And those kind of mentorship relationships did make a difference when you get to the city and you're like, I've never seen a bus system that works before. Like, how am I going to navigate this, let alone everything else? So, yeah, big part of that.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'll just add in that, yeah, there's a lot of social isolation, I guess, in certain country areas, and the expectations that people have for you when you come to university and when you come to cities are very different. So to have kind of a guiding light throughout that, from, you know, the College of Law, and then, yeah, being able to go to college and kind of have the academic support and meet people, because I think, yeah, I don't think without the scholarship I would have gone to college, and yeah, it might have been a lot harder to meet people so quickly otherwise, perhaps. But yeah, I certainly took a lot of college academically and socially, as well as the College of Law, who've just been amazing in welcoming me into everything.
What about you, Molly?
I don't know what else to add. I think what everyone said has been really, really relevant. And what I would say is that it is that vote of confidence was probably the biggest thing. I think starting your law degree with a letter from the Dean of the Law School saying, we believe in you and we're backing you, was something that I really, really appreciated, and from day one, and continue to appreciate. It also, it comes up for discussion now that I'm at work, and when I was applying for jobs and applying for graduate positions, and that helped again because people knew Phillipa and they saw on my resume that I was a scholar, and then went, oh great, talk to us about that. What did that mean to you and what's that all about? So it didn't just help me at my studies, it then helped me get into the workforce and have job opportunities that I've now, you know, I'm working at a fantastic firm that I really love, and I get to do amazing work. And I also get to, one of the biggest parts of my job that I enjoy the most is actually being the pro bono coordinator for the Canberra Sparkhelmore office, and getting to work very closely with community organisations like the Women's Legal Centre, and other community legal resources. And I think that drive for me to do pro bono work and to have that as a really prominent part of my career moving forward definitely is connected to how I feel about the Phillipa Weeks Scholarship and the values that it instilled in me throughout my studies and the legacy that she left as well. So I would say it's definitely not just support during your studies, it continues on well past your graduation date. And that's something that I will continue to value, and I'm sure I will continue to realise as I go on.
Thank you. It's making me feel even more grateful. So Molly, you've already told us a little bit about what amazing things you're up to. Could you tell us more about what you're up to now and your career plans?
Yeah, so I'm an associate now at Campbell. I got a graduate position there after doing a little bit of paralegal work with a couple of firms while I was still studying. I work mostly in government administrative law, which ironically was my worst subject at university, admin law. I did not understand at all, and now I'm an admin lawyer. But I quite like it, and I'm quite good at it apparently. So there you go. It's a practical thing that once you get your head in the game, you realise what it's all about. But I definitely remember applying for the job and not quite realising what I was getting in for, which is the reality of most graduates, I think, when they're applying for law positions. Yeah, so I work in government admin. I mostly actually work in information law now, which I would like to think Phillipa as a property lawyer would probably agree is also not the most sexy area of the law. But I really like information law. I do a lot of privacy work, freedom of information. And at the moment, in the world of COVID, with privacy policies coming out people's ears and mandatory vaccination and all of the things, it's actually quite a hot topic and a very busy area of law at the moment. So it's really, really interesting. As I said, I'm also pro bono coordinator, and I do a lot of pro bono work. I help run a divorce clinic with the Women's Legal Centre, where we assist women to get divorces through the Federal Circuit Court of Australia. I've been doing that for quite a few years, and I also recently helped start up a wills clinic with the Women's Legal Centre, predominantly designed during our first COVID lockdown, and it's continued to assist women to get their estate plan in order. And we did both of those clinics virtually through the pandemic, so we didn't lose that legal support and legal resources. So I think being able to balance both of those, kind of one very technical area of the law and one very rewarding kind of personal area of the law, is what I value the most about my job. And yeah, apart from that, I'm on mat leave at the moment. I've just had a little baby in the middle of a pandemic, so that's fun. And yeah, I'm just kind of working my way up the ladder at the moment, and we'll see where I get to. But for now, I'm just enjoying being a lawyer, which is really exciting.
Congratulations, Molly. It's really encouraging. It really feels like a continuing Phillipas legacy. So
Thank you.
Curious about you now, Georgie. What are you up to and what are your career plans?
Yes, so I graduated from ANU last year. Made it out despite COVID. So I have no idea how you've managed a baby, Molly, but and actually it was again one of those mentorship relationships that I gained through the Phillipa Weeks Scholarship. The professor in question suggested to me that I might consider applying for an associateship or a tip staff position. I thought that was ridiculous, but did it anyway because I trusted her judgment so far. And lo and behold, I now find myself as an associate at the Federal Court of Australia, which meant moving from Canberra to Sydney, which at the time, again, was quite daunting. I was like, I've gone from Townsville to Canberra, and then the next leap is Sydney. So I'm slowly acclimatizing to city lifestyle. But yeah, I absolutely love the role. It's made me consider career pathways that I had not really ever considered before, much as my law degree made me consider areas of law that I thought sounded very boring until I took the subjects and I was like, constitutional law is not that bad, actually. And next year I'll be starting as a graduate at Herbert Smith Freehills, also in Sydney. And like Molly, one of the big attractions for me to that firm was that I expressed from the very beginning a very strong desire to be involved in pro bono and not necessarily be pigeonholed into just commercial practice. And even during my clerkship, they were very accommodating and very willing to make that happen, basically. And so I'm excited to be able to have a bit more of a balanced lifestyle, to have that really challenging, interesting work, and to be hopefully a positive influence on those around me in the micro scale by just being like a smiling face and a warm person in the everyday office context, but then also to have that bigger impact as well of like you're doing work that other people don't necessarily have the time or the resources to do. So yeah, I'm excited. I have no idea what's coming. That's kind of the benefit of these roles, is just being a sponge and keeping an open mind. But yeah, I'm excited and definitely know that that'll, prioritizing sort of that pro bono work is going to be a thing for me in the future.
Congratulations, Georgie, and it's really admiring to see that you are honest about your passion and really communicated that to the firm. I think that's something I'm going to take away tonight. Next one's for Aiden. You are now in your third year. What do you plan to do after completing your studies?
Yeah, so wow, that's pretty impressive to lead in. But I'm working for a barrister at the moment, a barrister at Chambers at the moment as a research assistant. so that's really interesting. I really enjoy the litigation aspect of things. And yeah, I've loved doing some kind of environmental law matters that have kind of come up, and I've been super lucky to get involved with through a barrister. Otherwise, yeah, journalism is one potential avenue. Yeah, I've been lucky enough through the Phillipa Weeks Scholarship to write for the ANU College of Law about the successes of law students. So I'm writing articles for them, and I'm also writing for Jurist, which is a American legal news website. So I'm like on the Australia Bureau. And then, so yeah, journalism sounds good, but really, to be honest, at 3 years in, I have no real idea what I'm doing and where I'm going to go. So yeah, hopefully I can be as successful as my fellow scholarship recipients. Yeah.
I'm sure you have a great future ahead of you, Aiden. I can just feel it. Now, the next question is about Phillipa's legacy. What does Phillipa's legacy mean to you, and how do you hope to continue it as a scholar?
I think I touched on it before, but for me, Phillipa's story shows that you can be a fantastic, wonderful, exceptional lawyer, but also a fantastic, wonderful, exceptional person at the same time. And there's so much about our industry, and I'm starting to experience it firsthand, that it can be pretty cutthroat and it can sometimes not be the nicest place. So sometimes lawyers can get pretty nasty and pretty narky, and it can all get a little bit heated, and that's the nature of the job and the nature of the industry sometimes. But I think it's so very important to be a good person and a good colleague at the same time, and to take the time to listen to everybody's story and take the time to write those little notes of encouragement. I know that's a little quirk that everyone speaks so fondly of Phillipa for doing when she was teaching, and it's something that I try and do now for junior lawyers at our firm as well, is to actually just take the time to be nice and encouraging and listen to what their story is or what they're struggling with, and actually take that time to have that conversation first. So for me, it's definitely those personable qualities that I hope to continue, and I hope to continue to learn from, and no matter how high up the ladder you get, not to forget that. That's something that I think can definitely happen, and something I really hope I don't do, but we'll see, is that the higher up the ladder you can get, particularly in the private industry, sometimes it can be very easy to forget how difficult it is when you're at the bottom of the ladder. So trying to continue that on is the part of Phillipa's legacy that I will hope to continue the most, and I guess try and also be a bit of a kick-ass lawyer, but we'll see. Still got a while to go.
For me also, it was the legacy of trying to adopt Phillipa's philosophies into my everyday life that I think is the biggest part that's come down for me, which has looked like a lot of different things throughout the course of my degree and then the job hunting. Like one example is that I prioritized finding a judge to work for that was renowned for being not only a good judge in terms of their judgment writing abilities, but someone who was a pleasure to work for, and someone who would take the time to be that mentor. And think that my experience at the courts has been all the better for it, because I did find that judge that I was looking for, and I'm very grateful and lucky to be here. And like Molly, I'm not quite at the stage that Molly is at in my career where I'm in those mentoring roles for others. So more at this stage of my career, it's more about my peers and just trying to form communities and connect with people wherever you go, because as it turns out, even if other people in the room aren't feeling like a country bumpkin, almost everyone is feeling something of, how did I get here? Oh my goodness, this is so intimidating. And just being super honest about hey, I'm going to be the first one to put up my hand and admit that I'm feeling like that, is often what gets the conversation started. So yeah, trying to be warm and confident and have that empathy and that time. So
Yeah, it gives great perspective on how to study law and how to go about your studies generally. Hearing of Philippa's life. So I guess I firmly believe like we need more really outgoing, creative and community orientated lawyers, and I think that's Philippa's like a testament to that. And so certainly if I could fulfill that legacy in any sense, I'd be that's the aim. So
We know that every year there's one recipient for the scholarship. How would you like to see the scholarship evolve in the future? Starting with you, Molly.
I guess I'd just say that country kids offer a really different perspective, and the more country kids that you can get into your lecture theatres and into your law programs, the better. And the more country kids that we can get into the legal industry, the better as well. Our experiences, our way of life, how we've been raised, regardless of whether you're a farm kid or you've come from rural Queensland, we've all had a lot different experiences than those of our city counterparts. So if the scholarship can grow and offer more places, it's only going to be better and better for ANU. So please keep supporting it. Please keep publicising it, telling others about it, and making sure that it continues and people continue to learn about Phillipa and the legacy that she's left. It's really important that we don't forget how this scholarship began and who it was named after and why it's here in the first place. So continuing that legacy and having that as the main driving focus. It's not just an academic scholarship, and it never should be. I think that's the biggest thing, is to really focus on those students that you're getting into your classrooms. And hopefully, I like to think that we've all had a really positive impact coming from the bush. And hopefully you've learned tonight that we're all incredibly thankful for it, regardless of whether we're currently studying or past students. It's been an enormous privilege to be a Phillipa Weeks Scholar. And I just hope more people have the opportunity, and I hope there's more high school students out there that will get that letter sometime down the track and come to ANU and study law and start a career, where whatever that might be, and that they'll have had that support from the beginning.
Yeah, I'd say it's a truly unique scholarship in that, it provides support to people who are thinking about going home to work afterwards as well. I mean, regardless of whether we do it, I think rural law is a vital growth area. It's so important that we have the best minds and best and brightest going back home, not just going to the cities. Not there's anything wrong with that, but I'm certainly looking at going home at least for a bit. So I'd love to give back to my community, and I think that's you potentially won't get that as much with city kids, and I think it's really important, that aspect of it as well.
To be completely honest, I don't think I could put it any more beautifully than it already has been put. So sometimes you need to know when to quit when you're ahead. So
If you could talk to a student who was considering applying for the scholarship, what advice would you give to them?
I would say throw your hat in the ring, back yourself, put in as much as you can into that application, be confident in your abilities and your personal abilities as well. So what have you got to offer? What are you going to bring to the ANU community? Don't just think that you have to write this most impressive academic application. Actually talk about what makes you tick, what makes you special, and what makes you think that you deserve the scholarship, and give it a go. And if you don't get it, it's a fantastic opportunity to practice writing scholarship applications, which as a country kid you'll probably be very good at by the end of it, to be completely honest. So yeah, give it a go and know that I think it's a really good exercise either way, whether you're awarded the scholarship or not, to actually that early on in your studies put down on paper what makes you so special and what you want to continue to learn and gain from ANU as well. So that'd be my thing. Throw your hat in the ring, give it a go.
Adding to that, I would also say, even if your experience is unusual or not what you think is needed in a prospective law student, or even the same applies for when you're at law school, still throw your hat in the ring. My background was that I wasn't a debating kid. I hadn't done any of those mooting competitions in high school. I joined the military and spent all of my volunteering hours on the beach with surf lifesaving training under 5-year-olds. So not the kind of conventional volunteering or curriculum that I think, or at least it wasn't the idea of the conventional law student that I had in my mind, but yeah, just going, oh well, okay, I'm going to give it a shot and embrace the fact that it doesn't matter necessarily what I've done. It matters that I'm passionate about what I've done, and that what I've done hopefully has a positive influence, and that I'm carrying these philosophies through to what I do. That's the part that counts. And yeah, having that faith, and you'll get that vote of confidence.
Yeah, I certainly think it's yeah, if you have too much self-doubt, if you're not sure about your ability to study law or something along those lines, that shouldn't really stop you. That's the common experience of law students future law students in rural areas. So yeah, throw your hat in the ring, and don't let self-doubt get the better of you.
This one's another advice question, a bit of a creative one. If you could go back in time to your very first day here at ANU and you could talk to yourself, what advice would you give to yourself in the first day of your ANU journey? Take a bit of time.
This is something that I think I did eventually figure out in my degree, but I just wish I'd figured it out sooner. So if I could have gone back to myself on the first day, that would have been better. One of the best resources that I ever accessed at ANU was the people, the professors, the students, being able to have those conversations in the corridors, ask those questions, book those student times. And I just thought that if I was going to be asking all those questions, that I was a nuisance, and that, with 200 students, a lecturer didn't have the time or the energy to give me that level. Like I sort of, thought, well, what makes me think I'm deserving of asking these questions and taking up their time? But what I found was that most people are thrilled for you to ask those questions. You come to them and you say, I actually really, really like this thing. This idea that you were just talking about has captured me. I want to know more. What can I do? What can I read? Who can I see? What can I be involved with? And of course, academics who have devoted their lives to this subject area are like, oh my God, I can't, thank you so much for asking this. And they, next thing you know, you're having coffee with them, discussing legal architecture and how that influences the experience of litigation, not an area I ever thought I would be involved in. And yeah, so just having the confidence, asking the questions, and yeah, making the most of the people, because people are almost always the best part of your study and probably your work experience too.
Yeah, totally agree. I sort of along the lines of a relax I'd probably give to myself. don't carry so much career or study anxiety and get involved with things outside of law, do things unrelated to university. Balance, like the balance is key, and it certainly adds indirectly to your studies, marks, like everything really. So I'd say, yeah, really get involved with for me, like getting involved in the natural surroundings, doing lots of long distance running, or like just doing random things like this, sport, going to like lots of gigs and getting involved in the music scene in Canberra is things that are really helpful in studying, I think.
Yeah, I would say do your readings. It's probably what I would tell myself, a little bit more. But mostly I would just say to, relax, like Aiden said, and find the people that work for you. Don't feel that you need to fit the atypical mold of what you think a law student is. That was probably one of the big pressures that I put on myself, that I thought, I'm not fitting in with them, or I don't think I'm as good as they are in terms of, academic ability. Just be yourself and work out what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And don't expect that every course that you do is going to be a walk in the park. Most of them are going to be pretty tough because it's law school, but that's okay. You get through it in the end, but don't expect that you're going to, fly by, sail through all your courses. There will be some that are harder than others, and that's all right. And that's part of the journey, and that's part of learning what you're good at and what you're not so good at. And that's part of being a lawyer as well.
Thank you. Now I feel inspired. We are also receiving questions from you. We have one question in the Q&A box, but if you have any other questions, please raise your hand or feel free to pop them in the Q&A function. I'll read them out. So this question is, we live in COVID times that Phillipa might not have contemplated, but they place an emphasis on values that she felt strongly about, such as tolerance, trust, and maintaining perspective. How do you feel that being a Phillipa Weeks Scholarship holder has equipped you for these challenges? Thank you for the question.
I think I can talk to this a little bit. I found that particularly with the first lockdown, we're in the legal industry, we're a little bit more practiced at lockdowns and virtual working environments this time around. But the first time there was a great sense of frustration in the court system, in litigation as well, speaking to opposing sides, speaking to clients. All of these things were happening online, and all of the platforms weren't working, and nobody knew what Zoom was, or should we be on WebEx? Nobody knows. And it was quite a frustrating time. So I think having the ability to take a breath, to relax, and to realize that everybody is having a bit of a rough time was so vitally important. And it took a bit of time for everybody to realize that your fellow colleagues or your opposing solicitors just as likely to have a toddler under the desk of their Zoom call and is probably having a really crappy day, and that's probably why they're more grumpy at you over the phone than they normally would be, rather than just you've done something wrong, or it's a particularly difficult case. There's always something else going on in people's lives. So I think having that real focus on personal qualities, taking the time to actually get to know someone, or just have that little extra note, hope you're having a good day, or hope your week's going okay, and just having a bit of a realistic expectation that everyone's having a bit of a rough time at the moment is really important in your working life and in your studies as well. So just thinking about, it's not just what you see, there's always stuff going on behind closed doors, and it's really important to just kind of check in with people and have that little bit of positive those positive notes throughout your week is really, really important. So
absolutely, again echoing what Molly said, and in terms of keeping perspective, also keeping broader perspective of that there's always something. It sounds so trite and cliched, but there is really a silver lining or an opportunity to be found in almost everything. it might take time to realize that, but or it might take a lot of digging to realize that. Sometimes you have to build that opportunity, but there's almost always something there, or a valuable lesson learned. For me during COVID, that was obviously, it hit during my final year of uni, so I was luckier than most because uni students are fairly flexible. That's one of the benefits of university. And the benefit that came out of it for me last year was, okay, I can't do all the normal things that I would do with my time, and I discovered a sport that I really loved, which is outdoor rock climbing, which seems to be all the rage at the moment. Which led to a community of people that I really love. And that community has allowed me to put down really good roots in Sydney, which I would not have been able to settle in so quickly here had that not been the case. So COVID in some ways was very, very painful. And in others, I wouldn't be here, wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing now if it weren't for it. So trying to keep that positive mentality and be on the lookout for the good things that come with the bad.
Yeah, I think coming from the country, and maybe particularly from a desert, the kind of elements of time and space and long distances certainly give you a bit of perspective to look at it all. I think, and yeah, the patience and perspective that, particularly from the NT, where these lockdowns and everything are really necessary to look after some very vulnerable people. So yeah, there's lots of elements to perspective there that have been offered to me from being through the country and then following in Phillipas Legacy as well. I understand.
Christina, I just jump in. I just remembered a little bit of a COVID anecdote that I think Phillipa would have enjoyed. I last year with lockdown actually moved back to my parents' property for a couple of months because I was in between houses, and I did one of my federal court appearances in my car on the top of a hill in the cow paddock, and every time that I had to go on mute there was a cow mooing, and I thought, oh my goodness, this federal court judge is definitely going to hear a cow in a minute and go, what the hell is happening? But I did think at the time, this is just such a rural law student's journey, isn't it? That ANU gives you these abilities and the next minute you're doing appearances in the middle of your dad's cow paddock. So I think it's pretty cool what studying at ANU can do for us country kids and where that can lead us. So that was my COVID little...
Yeah, that's incredible. I hope they heard the mooing. So we've now reached the end of the event, and I actually have received a comment from Michael Will, and I'd like to read this out because it's really beautiful. Phillipa was my lecturer in 3 subjects at ANU. She was also my honours thesis supervisor. She was, as others have said today, very smart and witty, but also rigorous. She could write beautifully and inspired clear and concise writing in others. Her interactions with me at ANU changed my life. I still have one of her notes. It was great to hear the stories of the scholarship recipients. Her legacy has been well preserved and passed on. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Michael. And we are so thankful again to be recipients of this incredible scholarship and all the opportunities that we have received through it. And we would like to take this opportunity to promise to use our legal careers in a way that Phillipa would be proud of, and we promise to continue her legacy in every possible way. I'd also like to mention that Giving Day is tomorrow, and we are encouraging donations to the scholarship with the aim of growing it for future students like ourselves. We truly hope to have an opportunity to connect with you in person in 2022, and thank you so much for making the time to join us tonight, and thank you to our incredible panelists as well. Wish you all the best and take care. Good night.